I know a lot of people are going to be really excited about this. Biden to visit East Palestine. They told him it was Palestine. That's the only reason he's going. Train derailment site. So this is, you might remember last year in February 2023, a train derailed right in these poor people's towns, spewing toxic fumes. So that is some footage of the accident there. And this is the controlled release of chemicals, the perfectly safe and effective release of controlled chemicals that they did in East Palestine, because apparently they couldn't think of any other way to get these toxic chemicals out of their town. But they assured people that this was perfectly safe and effective. And of course, people have been suffering ill health effects ever since. Now, Biden promised he was going to go back then. It's taken him a year to get around to it. President Joe Biden will travel next month to East Palestine, Ohio, to mark the one-year anniversary of the disastrous train derailment and toxic chemical spill in the area. The White House did not provide a specific date for the visit, which would fulfill a long-held vow to visit the small eastern Ohio town, I'll say. But on February 3rd, 2023, a Norfolk Southern train hauling hazardous materials ran off the tracks, igniting a days-long fire that released poisonous fumes and forced residents out of their homes. Biden recently received an invitation from the East Palestine mayors and community leaders to visit the area and access the recovery efforts, said White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Quote, he's looking forward to going to East Palestine in February, like he even knows about it. We're going to find the day that works best for the folks on the ground, she told reporters at Wednesday's briefing. All right, this is a pet peeve. Stop using folks, man. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Unless you have grown tobacco with your own hands, I don't want to hear you saying folks. Folks. They're all fucking, they all grew up raising hogs. He's always said that when the time was right, when it was the most helpful for him to be there, he was going to be there. Biden last year ordered his Federal Emergency Management Agency to appoint, and they are doing a heck of a job, by the way, to appoint a coordinator to oversee East Palestine's long-term recovery efforts. He's also tasked the EPA with evaluating whether Norfolk Southern has followed through on its commitment to address any lingering threats to the town generated by the derailment. And the Transportation Department has pumped millions into rail safety grants and additional inspections. The White House faced criticism over Biden's decision not to immediately visit East Palestine in the aftermath of the derailment. The president has traveled to other disaster sites across the country in the intervening months, but none with so much toxic chemicals released into the air. I mean, really, why hasn't he gone? Why hasn't he gone? They know what the fuck's going on over there. They can't let that like 8,065-year-old man breathe that shit.
We've interviewed activists who have gone there. They're sick when they're there, and they're sick for days, if not weeks, after they get back.
Didn't Savage Joy lose a tooth?
Yeah, she lost a tooth. Yeah.
They know, like Biden, seriously, like I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Like the optics of that are so bad. Why would he not have gone? Because it's dangerous and he's old. That's why.
And he's old, right? They sent Mayor Pete there.
They sent Mayor Pete. He's young. They're like, he loses a tooth.
Get in there, breathe.
It'll grow back like a shark. Yeah. When pressed on the delay in September, he said he didn't have the occasion to go to East Palestine. Very, very busy there with his brands of chocolate pudding. He has since been drawn into numerous foreign crises, particularly after the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, and more recently the death of the service members in Jordan, adds to the rising Middle East tensions. I'm going to say whoever wrote this article has no business writing for any kind of publication, because I have to keep fixing the grammar on this. Former President Donald Trump visited a firehouse about a half mile from the derailment site in late February, 19 days after the incident, calling it a betrayal of the residents. His visit, though, came one day before Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg's arrival, and weeks after the administration dispatched EPA Administrator Michael Regan to the site. At the time, Trump's visit cast a light on Trump's DOT, which oversaw mothballing 2 rules that sought to shore up the safety of train brakes and crews. This is from our friend, Jimmy's friend, everybody's friend, Comrade Misty, who is also Putin's buddy. The fact that Biden has finally decided to schlep his way to East Palestine a whole last year later is infuriating. He's very clearly just using those people as election year fodder, and I hope it blows up in his face. So gross. Dude has barely even acknowledged that all year. Damn right. Christian Drake, do you think he will pretend to drink the water like Obama did? I don't think he has those kinds of skills of prestidigitation that Obama does, because, you know, Obama worked his way through Colombia doing close-up magic. So that's why he was able to pull that off. I don't think Biden has that skill set, especially in his advanced years. I don't think they're going to let that motherfucker near that water. It's going to be a Poland Spring trip all the way. So what are your thoughts, Keaton?
Well, I mean, this is a nice gesture for the Biden campaign to roll into town, but don't you think those people have seen enough train wrecks for 1 year? You got to see him now. Now he's got to come in there. No, look, I mean, this is just such obvious opportunism, and it's not going to go well because, first of all, this was not a Biden-friendly town to begin with.
Right.
He could have won some goodwill if he got his ass there as soon as it happened. But once Trump beat him to the punch, he was fucked, because if he went after Trump went, he would have looked like he was chasing Trump, right? And so he had to wait for the next occasion, and I guess the occasion is the 1 year anniversary. And now it's just going to be an obvious campaign move with a photo op, and the people there were not particularly fond of him anyway, even before this accident happened. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a total shit show, I think. I hope it is. You know, it would be a fun thing to go and cover, to go and document, you know, to go and ask people, hey, what do you think? But on the other hand, I would feel like a sleazebag doing it because... What's that?
You got a kid on the way. You can't risk that.
Well, I can't personally, but I'm saying I would feel like a bit of a sleazebag doing it because it would just confirm what all of these poor people in this town have thought for the last year, which is that we only matter when the cameras are here, when Biden is here, right? That's the only time people are interested in, when they can get a story out of it. When the truth of the matter is the people in this town have been in such desperate need for an entire year. We have stayed somewhat on it over the course of the past year, not as much as we should have, but we've done more than many others. Like I said, we've interviewed people who have been there. We've followed the major updates. You have people there with pretty severe health problems now, bleeding out of their ears now, peeing blood. You had, as Savage Joy told us when we interviewed her last, you have families running up $10,000 worth of credit card debt for hotels, for lodging, because it would cost a lot of money in testing to move back into their homes to make sure the homes were safe. And so if they can't afford that, they just put a hotel bill on a card and hope that the next month brings better fortune, and it doesn't. And so it's just a really desperate situation there. It's really horrible. And the fact that the media is going to come back to town when Biden goes there is just going to make these people all the more pissed off at how this whole thing was handled, as they have every right to be. How do you even go and cover that? Like, how do you show up if you're CNN, if you're a camera crew and you've ignored this town for the past year? How do you go and cover it when Joe Biden shows up? because what are you there to cover? You're there to document how angry these people are. I mean, that's news, sure. But the whole thing is news. The whole thing should have been front page news all along. The fact that Norfolk Southern is still nickel and diming people rather than giving them the compensation that they're owed. And so, yeah, it's an awful, sleazy story. I don't know why he's bothering at this point, because it's not going to go well. I'm telling you right now.
I would agree. Well, they can't show up anywhere without getting protested now.
No,
they're going to go to East Palestine.
Yeah,
but they're in an impossible situation. They're trying to campaign with a president who is probably as hated as any president in my lifetime. Like I can't think of a president who people had such a bone deep hatred for. You know, I mean, you've had your unpopular presidents, but people, I mean, across every demographic group, like Jimmy Carter, people thought he couldn't do the job, but they didn't hate him. Right? They thought he was. They thought he was a boob. They didn't hate him like this. George Bush, I mean, the libs hated him, but he had his supporters. I mean, I've said this since he ran in 20.
I mean, I'm not a lib, but the left hated him too. I mean, there are a lot of people who hated him, but the difference is the times we're living in. I mean, look, George W. Bush.
I mean, I always think of the libs because it's so crazy to me that now the majority of Democrats approve of him.
Sure,
and he was their Trump. He was their Trump. He was the threat to democracy. He was the stupid, unqualified one. All the things they say about Trump, they said about Bush at one time.
Sure. But, the country was still a country at that point.
Yes, that's the difference.
Now you just have a country that is just in such irreversible decline.
Right.
And you have this non-entity at the helm. And I
symbolizes that decline. Because you got a cognitively declining president heading a declining country.
Sure, and a president with no presence whatsoever. So you don't even see the president. You just see the truly ghoulish functionaries that stand behind every commander in chief, right? But usually the president is a compelling enough figurehead. That's how they got to be president for the most part.
Right.
They have this big personality. To the point where you look at them. You don't look at the people who are calling the shots in back of them. With Biden, there's none of that. You see right through him. So it's President Pete Buttigieg, Jake Sullivan, John Kirby, who's the other one? Lloyd Austin, Anthony Blinken, all these guys.
Right.
And that's who I think people really hate. Right. I have hatred for those deep state operatives. Biden is a non-entity. Right. I mean, hating Biden is like hating a dog. It's like, what's the point? A junkyard dog is mean to you, but it's not its fault. I mean, it is what it is. At this point, to hate Biden almost seems kind of pointless, right? Well, at a certain time, it made sense to hate Biden, like when he was passing the bankruptcy bill, crime bill, all that stuff. Now he's an old man. He's out of the picture. He's not calling the shot. It's the most obvious thing in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, not only that, because the country was in such a state of decline, how much can you even blame him?
Right.
I mean, he's just there. They just stuck him there while the country is collapsing.
He's the company man. He's Bobby Bacala Sr., right? They pulled him out of retirement to do one last job, right? And he'll do it because that's all he knows how to do. He's been in the Senate since 1972? This has been his life. He has served the company his whole life. And that's what he's there to do now.
Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We're going to be in Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Philadelphia, Avenel, New Jersey, Boston, Palm Springs, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you at a live show.